Before we kick off today's episode of Potterless, just a few quick things. I mentioned this last episode, but I will be performing live with Join the Party in New York City on June 9th. I will be opening up the show, and afterwards there'll be like a meet and greet session. I'll have merchandise. We can talk, hang out, get to know each other, rant about Quidditch, whatever your heart desires. It's going to be a blast. If you want tickets, you can head to bit.ly/jointhepartylive, and you can snag them before they sell out. Also, I will be a part of Podcast Movement, which is a podcasting convention that is happening in Philadelphia from July 23rd through July 26th. I will be on a panel with some other multitude folks talking about monetizing a podcast. Podcast Movement is definitely a convention that is more geared towards people that create podcasts. So there's going to be a lot of really fun panels there teaching people what you can do and giving various advice. So we'll be teaching you how to monetize your podcast and how to run a successful Patreon and all kind of stuff like that. So I'll be there. The other multitude people will be there. It's going to be a fun time. Also, it is the first episode to be posted in May, meaning that it is charity time. At the time of posting this episode, we have 219 patrons at patreon.com/Potterless, meaning that we will be donating $219 to a charity, and this month's charity is the Moyer Foundation. The Moyer Foundation puts on Camp Erin, which is the largest national bereavement program for youth grieving the death of a significant person in their lives. So basically, it's a camp just to help kids cope with the loss of a loved one. They have 3,600 campers. They have 54 different camp weekends in 48 different locations. They put on a really great program to kind of help these children cope with a really tough situation that they have going on. The inspiration for this was from listener Angel Zhang, who reached out to me on Instagram to say that unfortunately the Toronto massacre occurred just seconds away from her high school, and one of the cafeteria ladies who was a mother lost her life. There was a GoFundMe page set up to help out her son, who was unfortunately orphaned, and the GoFundMe page got double the funding, which was great. So I wanted to try to help out some other kids that didn't necessarily have this going for them. So I went with the Meyer Foundation, which puts on this camp for, kids that could be in a similar situation with lost parents or other important people in their life. So thanks so much, Angel, for this suggestion. And if you guys have any suggestion for a charity, just reach out. You can send an email to potterlesspodcast@gmail.com. And finally, speaking of awesome things and awesome people, we have new patrons to welcome to the team. So a big warm welcome to our newest patrons: Brandy Everett, Carrie Cotter, Gizem Chakul, Desiree Santiago, Marta Da Costa, Missy Curtis, Emily Irwin, Hannah Floyd, Ainsley, Ann Moss, Annette Neubauer, Ben Rush, Caitlin, Kayla Chapman, Nathaniel Jared Gallardo, Hannah Visser, Iron Power Flash, Hannah Gilhuli, Beth Francis, Andres Martinson, Laura Betts, Pooja, the return of Ajay Narayanan, and a happy birthday to Gabriela Lemos. And a huge shout out to our newest producer level patrons: Anthony Bonarigo, Diego Matienzo, Andrew Clack, Celeste Smith, and Russell Dunk. They join the ranks of our existing amazing producer level patrons: Leanne, Vicky, Aaron, Erica, Calvin, Michael, Sadie, Jesse, Natalie, Deborah, Clow, Alex, Rebecca, Frank, Marchismo, Tori, Samantha, Juan, Sheila, Jenna, Kieran, Louise, Akanksha, Rebecca, Abid, Caitlin, Lee, Ayana, Benjamin, Rosemary, Jill, Maria, Lisa, Jennifer, Ariel, Christina, Romina, Serenity, and Kumail, who never awkwardly get bubblegum stuck onto like their lips or their cheeks when they blow bubbles. If you want to be like these awesome people and get access to bonus content like my notes that I reference, monthly live streams, shirts, stickers, bonus episodes. I've been doing episodes of me playing that new Harry Potter game, and it is frustrating, but interesting and confusing all at the same time. You can go to patreon.com/Potterless. So without further ado, let's get into episode 41 of Potterless, covering chapters 7 through 9 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, starring Sarah Shachat and Gabriel Urbina of Wolf 359. Hello, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Potterless, the tale of a grown man reading Harry Potter for the first time. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm that grown man, and we are back with Gabrielle Urbina and Sarah Shachat of Wolf 359 to discuss chapters 7 through 9 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. How you guys feeling? How you doing? How's life?
Good. I think that these are the best chapters in the entire series, right, Sarah?
Ooh.
Or the worst chapters in the entire series.
Well, somewhere between these two.
Hot
they
takes.
They come in somewhere between these.
Yeah. Somewhere in that range.
I think that we can safely say that they're between the best and the worst
chapters. I think we solved it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
It's a bold claim to make, but I think that we can hold true to it. We'll have to see how it holds up.
That's right.
But yeah, let's get right into the mess. Chapter 7, The Slug Club, which I took an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize what this was referring to. But we'll learn later.
To the slugs, the actual slugs, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
people that really enjoy slugs.
Nothing
at
about
Hogwarts.
literal this book.
It's J.K. Rowling, man. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. So the kids are getting ready to head back to Hogwarts. Harry tells the squad that he thinks Malfoy has replaced his dad as a Death Eater, which goes along with my theory, which, as I mentioned in the last episode, makes me feel less confident in my theory. He cites the way that he freaked when Madame Malcolm approached his left arm, the way that he intimidated Borgin. All these sort of things point Harry's mind in the direction that Malfoy has taken over as a Death Eater. Ron and Hermione, though, are less convinced, thinking that Voldemort wouldn't take a 16-year-old as a member of the Death Eaters.
I love Ron's reaction of just like, Malfoy? You think that he would let in Malfoy? Like, independent of whether he's a 16-year-old, independent of anything else.
His
just...
pureblood status, we all know. We all have the same opinion about Malfoy.
He's a kid. Come on.
Yeah.
Voldemort can get better people than Malfoy. God.
So they try to guess what the item needing repair is, but they really can't think of anything or any sort of guess. And I still can't either, which bugs me. I usually have some sort of prediction, even if I'm painfully wrong, and I just can't fathom what it would be that he would have two of, that he couldn't be seen with, that he needs fixed. I am really struggling, which makes me excited to figure out what it is.
You're going to be really crushed when it's actually his new broomsticks, and this is all just
it's just
to dominate at the Quidditch Cup.
It's like a matching set of mugs, novelty mugs that say best friends or something, and they've broken. And he's like, how am I going to give them to my...
He's making presents for Crabbe and Goyle.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it
Long-suffering.
is.
Finally.
He got Crabbe and Goyle matching mugs, and they're both broke.
They're both going to get, the number 2 friend mug.
That's right.
They won't know.
Best thugs ever.
You've contributed so much to this book. Harry is then about to head into the kitchen, but when he does, he passes Ginny in the hallway. And Ginny says to be careful because there is a lot of phlegm in there. And Harry says, I'll try not to slip on it. I think this is the first instance of them having cute, witty banter back and forth. And it is the truest form of love, which is when two people hate the same person and they talk smack about them. I just think it's an adorable moment that they have shared. And this is definitely a clear sign that they are going to get married eventually.
I have nothing to argue against that statement.
I think that we've seen that work oftentimes in fiction and also in real life.
And also in reality.
Oh, for sure.
Rock on.
So Fleur is going on and on about the wedding plans, and Mrs. Weasley springs at the first chance she can get to change the subject when she sees Harry enter the room. She starts talking about them having to get ready to go to King's Cross. Harry asks if Tonks will be there. Molly says no, and then Fleur starts smack-talking Tonks, which I found interesting. I don't know if Fleur is taking the hint that Molly is trying to get Bill to be with Tonks, or if there is a inkling that Bill might like her or something, but Fleur seems somewhat inclined to want to belittle Tonks, which I found interesting.
This is also a moment scientifically designed to be all of the worst things about Fleur, altogether, because this is when she's admiring her own reflection in a spoon.
Yeah.
So she's just gonna be man, I look good. Unlike that woman who's let herself go, and it's ugh.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling's trying to find ways for people to hate Fleur, and they're what if she made fun of one of the most beloved characters? Yeah, that's what we'll do.
While also being damn, I look good, son.
Yeah, in this spoon.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and in typical Fleur fashion, I think she's not even aware that either of the things she's doing is having any effect on the people around her.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
oh boy. It's just she's in the wrong house, you guys.
Yeah, you definitely brought this up in the last episode, which was perfect, is that she's the type of person to not understand that some of the things that she says or does could be really problematic or upsetting to people. Yeah. And she could just be so oblivious that she doesn't realize that when she is saying, Tonks looks rough, that it comes off as really condescending. She might think she's being helpful, which is the classic super pretty popular girl thing where like no one has ever stood up to them and told them like, hey, when you do this, you're actually being a jerk because everyone is just so enamored by their beauty. So it could just be that, is that she's not like a biting, really mean person. She's just crazy oblivious because no one's ever told her otherwise.
Right, and even if she is, she's still being hurtful.
Yeah, totally. Just not saying nice things and then also checking herself out in a spoon. So
any reflective surface will do.
Yeah, pretty much. Molly interrupts Fleur's Tonks rant. She's like, okay, yeah, great. We gotta go. And they just like leave while she's mid-sentence, basically. So then you get into just your classic them getting back to King's Cross stuff. We've seen this 6 times before. But just as Harry is about to get to the train, he asks Arthur and Ron if he can have a word with them to the side. So he tells Arthur where they really went when they said that they were in the back room, and Arthur knew that they weren't in the back room, and Harry's like, how'd you know? And he's like, you're talking to the man who raised Fred and George. He's like, oh yeah, true.
The 1,000-yard stare.
All of you just like flashbacks of all of the things that they've done to him. Just like a montage of Fred and George slowly getting older and just doing prank after prank after prank to him. Harry tells them where they were, tells them what they saw, and the theory that he thinks Malfoy is a Death Eater now. Arthur brings up the same point that Ron and Hermione did, where he's like, I don't think that you-know-who would take a 16-year-old. And Harry yells back, do we really know what Voldemort would and wouldn't do? Which is super valid. Good like, point, it's a sassy thing, but a really good point. Like, how is anyone a Voldemort expert at all? He's Voldemort.
Right.
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
This dude was killed and clawed his way back to life, which we thought was impossible. And he put together this like crazy ritual, which none of us knew was like a thing. And, you know, like put together sort of this like massive network of people without anyone knowing that he was back to life. But aside from those things, we think we've got him on lockdown. We think we understand the psychology of the individual.
Right. I mean, I guess he might be working off, like, what happened the last time and whether there were any Death Eaters who were underage.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't seem like there were. But that is the valid point that Harry's making is we don't know. And also there's, like, a thing with Malfoy is a pureblood. He is one of the most desirable wizards that Voldemort would want.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so, like, why wouldn't that person, if they are willing and able to do magic, be included in some capacity?
But we also learn an interesting tidbit here, which is that they raided the Malfoy's house and they declared it free of all suspicious objects.
Yeah, but Harry thinks that they did a shitty job
because he had an experience with a diary.
Yeah, Harry at this point must be like, if I have not done it myself, I do not trust anyone to get anything right. Ever.
He trusts no one. So Harry, Mr. Weasley's like, we didn't find anything when they raided their house, and Harry's like, I think you missed something. And then right after that, the train starts to leave, so he has to go. They get onto the train. Ron and Hermione have to do their prefect stuff. So Harry's like, oh, Ginny, do you want to get a cabin? And then Ginny says, no, I promised Dean I would sit with him. And then Harry has this realization of like, oh yeah, when we go to school, we don't hang out with Ginny anymore. And he like has this weird realization. But I'm sure that'll change once Harry starts dating her. So Harry is trying to struggle to figure out who's going to sit with. And then he sees Neville and Luna, my OTP. I don't know if they get together, but I want it. I want it so badly.
Oh, they get together in all our hearts.
I want it to be real, but we'll see.
This is the shipping book.
He gets into a car with Luna and Neville. Neville says that his grandma is super proud of him, which is great. Luna says that the Quibbler sales have been really good, so the two things that each of these people want most in the world is starting to come true, which is just perfect and warms my heart because they're so great. I just want the best for the both of them. They're some of the best characters.
Yeah.
Apparently, their whole run-in with the Ministry of Magic was all over the papers, and pretty much every student that was there is like crazy famous now. Harry, of course, being the most, since he's being widely touted as the chosen one, the boy who lived, etc., etc., etc. And Harry is uncomfortable with this because, like, when he's on the train, like, everyone is staring at him. Like, every single person. And it's, like, reminiscent of the first book, but now it's, like, way worse where, like, everybody is just, like, ogling over Harry. now in a more positive light because they're like, he stood up to Voldemort and stuff.
Yeah, but also I think that like everyone's probably also a bit of a like, if I touch him, will my life explode? Like, you know, like if he breathes on me too hard, will like, you know, Death Eaters burst out of my trunk?
Will the calamity happen while he's in my line of sight? Will like the train derail after he turns the corner?
Right.
Like, bad things follow this guy around. We are in proximity. What is going to happen?
That is valid. I don't think they ever like bring this up, but what if people are just like, yo, I don't want to talk to you, Harry. Like, bad shit happens to you. I'm not hanging out with you, man.
No disrespect, but
But I'm just not taking a risk here. I'm not hanging out with you, man.
to his credit, I think that Harry would be like, I kind of get it. I wouldn't hang out with me if I could.
He'd be like, true, I
and
get
it's like
it.
the difference between like we're famous as a child actor and now you're showing up for your first day at college versus like you are now showing up for your first day at college and you have been in the news nonstop for the past 3 months.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Like he's earned the hype. It's not this like thing that happened to him when he was a baby. Like he's fresh off it.
Right, and it's present in people's minds in a much more urgent way than it was just like, oh yeah, that's that famous kid who that really freaky thing happened to.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are some giggly fourth-year girls outside of their car, and one of them, at the suggestion of the friends, enters and is like, "Oh, Harry, you can come sit with us instead of these losers if you want to." And Harry's like, "No, they're my friends." She goes, "Oh." And just awkwardly leaves.
I love how she introduces herself because she's like, "Hi, I'm Romilda Vane." Like, you know, she sort of does the like, you know, kind of like stage introduction.
Yeah, it's like, we don't care, Romilda. No one's gonna. You might be a trivia question at a Harry Potter themed bar later.
What a Dickensian name, Romilda Vane.
Oh yeah, no.
It's like she's making it worse for herself. The first name was bad enough.
Yeah.
So Luna, at this awkward leaving of Romilda, says, "Oh, she expected you to have cooler friends." And then Harry says, "No, you are cool. I didn't see her fighting with me at the Ministry." And this makes Luna really happy. And it's just like, oh, yes. Thank God Harry is starting to come around and being a better friend to people, because just... Luna is cool. I don't understand. This is very much like a mid-90s thing where like the weird kid is not... Like, no one likes the person that is really weird. Whereas, like, if Luna was a present-day student, Luna would be the fucking coolest kid in school by a mile. Everybody would love Luna.
Instead, Luna's like, "I miss DA meetings. It was like having friends."
I know.
Reading the magazine.
Heart crumbles into a million pieces.
It's amazing how quickly, like, Luna Lovegood became sort of not the heart of the series and, like, its moral heart, or, like, the person that, you know, was articulating something about the books, but just like the person I want only good things to happen to.
Yep.
And like intensely.
Definitely.
It's like, oh, Luna, it gets better.
Stay strong. Never weaken.
Oh, man. You nailed it on the head. Is that the next thing that happens is Neville and Luna asks, are there going to be more DA meetings this year? And Harry's like, oh, there's no need now that we don't have Umbridge anymore.
We have a proper Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher now.
Yes.
Exactly.
Finally.
And they're both sad about it because they loved it. And yes, Luna says the quote, it's almost like having friends, which Harry describes as the kind of thing that Luna says often that makes you feel pity, and it's something. It's like the type of thing that Luna says that makes you feel pity for her and sad, like depressed and pity. It's
right.
It was a heartbreaking thing that she says these things often.
Oh yeah.
Neville says he got a new wand, and it was one of the last ones that Ollivander made before he disappeared. And I am super excited for Neville 2.0.
Right, with a proper wand.
Right? Yeah. He's got the proper wand. It's something I totally missed until I had Julia on the podcast. Julia Schifini from Spirits, she brought it up. She was like, yo, you got to realize this entire book series so far, Neville has been using someone else's wand, which you're not supposed to do. And my brain exploded. Yeah. So I don't know if this is a thing that's going to happen, but I would love to see Neville just become a complete boss hog now that he actually has the proper wand.
No, the way that Ron had sort of like the wand that was like
the spell
taped
tape,
back together.
Yeah,
yep.
That's what Neville's been operating at the entire series.
Yep.
No wonder the kid's only good at herbology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no wand involved.
Yeah.
Right. So Ron and Hermione come back in, and they say that Malfoy wasn't doing his prefect duties, which is suspect because he loves bullying, and Harry thinks, what could be more important than bullying people?
For Malfoy, almost nothing.
Yeah, like something has to be up. Then Harry and Neville receive a invitation from Slughorn to have lunch, and that's where I'm like, oh, Slug Club, right. So Neville is unsure why he got picked, and Harry knows why, but he doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't want Neville to freak out because of the whole prophecy thing. Or whether it's a prophecy or not,
or just
Neville's parents were
famous.
bosses. Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
They're also like the two most like racially pure wizards present, no?
In that cabin, correct.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Harry not so much because of Lily.
Oh, I suppose
Right.
Lily is Muggle-born. Yeah.
Yeah. Ron technically would have been the more blood
Luna
pure.
might be.
Oh yeah, we don't know about
Luna's
Luna.
probably.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't know
Luna,
about-
come to think of it. All right, never mind.
Anyway.
I retract my point.
Well, the thing is, and what we learn in a second is that Slughorn's big thing is all of the kids in this Slug Club meeting are people that have relatives that did really well, and he's basically just trying to see if they're cool too.
Will lightning strike twice?
Right.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of people that we don't know, and then Ginny. So it's this Belby, McLagan, and Zabini, who all either have like famous uncles or grandpas or whatever. Slughorn basically just asks all of them about their famous relatives. And one kid, like halfway through, the guy's like, oh yeah, I'm not that close with my uncle actually. And then Slughorn just stops talking to him and moves on to Zabini. It's like Slughorn has no time for people that aren't close to famous ones. So he then starts talking to Harry about the ministry stuff and surviving the attack and like wants Harry to talk more and more about it. And Zabini scoffs at Harry. And then Ginny, who won't stop dominating this book, comes in and says, oh, Zabini, you're only talented at posing. Because they mentioned before that this is like a pretty dude or whatever.
Right, and
Just,
his mom
oh my
was
gosh.
very beautiful or something.
Yeah.
Ginny, freaking Ginny Weasley, man. So good. It is so good.
Dominating is the word.
Yeah, she's destroying. Absolutely destroying. We find out that afterwards, Harry asks Ginny, like, why did Slughorn pick you? And Ginny goes, oh, he saw me hex Zacharias Smith in the hallway of the train because Zacharias wouldn't shut up about asking me what happened in the ministry. So I threw a hex on him, and then Slughorn was like, hey, come along with me and my friends.
Also, moment of silence for like Dean's happiness. He's reunited with his girlfriend after like spending the entire summer away from her. And probably like within 5 minutes, a like figure of authority is like, I'm just gonna borrow her for a moment. Yoink.
Yeah, and then also, I just realized this, but how does Dean Thomas feel when Ginny gets with Harry and then he's like, he spent the whole summer with her. He was in her house every break and summer for a couple years while she was dating me. And then he just like has this freak panic attack that, you know, they were seeing each other on the side behind his back.
The complex is real.
Poor Dean. Oh man, I hope their breakup is at least amicable or something because he seems like a good kid.
He does seem
But
like a
what
good
are you
kid.
gonna do?
Yes.
Yeah. Zabini then leaves to go sit with the other Slytherins, and Harry's like, "Oh, gotta go," and throws on his invisibility cloak to spy on
Oh,
them.
look at my wrist. I need to go.
Hours since Harry has done something stupid.
Yup.
We're
Back
gonna
to
reset
zero.
the counter.
Exactly. So he follows behind. Zabini tries to like close the door to the cabin. Harry has to stick his foot in there. Then he has to climb up on a seat and then into the luggage rack
The
with
most
the invisibility cloak.
inconspicuous.
Which I'm just like, I'm sorry, but like, I don't care how invisible you are. You're gonna like be imprinting
Yeah,
on
there's
like
a
the
force.
seats.
Yep.
And,
But apparently it works. So Malfoy basically asks Zabini to recap the meeting. And Zabini's like, oh, you know, it's just him trying to get famous people, blah, blah. Like, everybody is on to Slughorn's gimmick. And
Yeah.
I feel like everybody knows.
it's incredibly transparent.
Yeah. Pansy is in the car as well. And she mentions that a lot of boys like Ginny. And she thinks that Zabini even has a crush on Ginny. But Zabini's like, oh, I don't care what she looks like. I would never touch a blood traitor like her.
Hooray.
I don't know. We learned that Zabini is racist, so that's fun. Malfoy mentions that he might not be at Hogwarts next year. And everyone in the crowd's like, what? And he goes, I don't know, I might move on to bigger and better things, which is very suspect. Pansy asks him, is it for him? Written in italics so that we know it's Dumbledore or Voldemort's. He's like, I don't know, maybe. And then at that point, they arrive at Hogwarts. So they're like, oh, gotta go. Goyle tries to grab his trunk, but he like drops it and it clearly like hits Harry, but no one notices somehow, which I don't know how that was able to go down. Malfoy says, oh, you guys go ahead. I'm going to hold back for a second. We learn that he has asked everyone to leave because he knows that Harry's in the room.
Plays it so cool.
So smooth.
Yeah.
Obviously, Malfoy sucks, but his whole move that he does here is actually like really smart and really crafty and really clever because he hits Harry with a Petrificus Totalis when Harry's not paying attention. So he's frozen in place under the invisibility cloak so no one can see him. And he starts smack talking Harry. He's like, I knew you were there. I saw your sneakers when you were climbing up onto the luggage rack. And then I saw the luggage bounce off of you. And he kicks Harry in the face and breaks his nose. Whoa, he like curb stomps Harry in the face.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then before he leaves, he says, I reckon they won't find you until the train is back to London. And then he leaves, and that's the end of the chapter.
It's like his own little like red wedding moment of like, my
Right.
father
Yeah.
sends his regards.
My
Crunch.
Yeah.
Yup, exactly. Like, I was happy for Malfoy just in the sense that so far he's just been a garbage bully. Harry always has better insults and comebacks for
No,
him.
but this is really well executed.
Yeah, it's really, really well done and pretty smart.
Everything's coming up Malfoy.
That's the end of chapter 7. We get into chapter 8 now, Victorious Snape. And we start upon Harry in a situation where he is screwed. He can't move. There's nothing he can do. He can't talk. He can't Accio his wand or anything. He is just frozen. The train is about to leave. Like he hears the locomotive start to gear up. But then Tonks enters and Tonks saves the day. Thank goodness for Tonks. And of course, she enters with a watcher, Harry, as she does a kickflip and then, you know, flips her hat around and blows a vape out.
Right. Takes off her Ray-Ban shades.
Right. I gotcha.
I've never asked for fan art before, but if someone wants to make this version of Tonks, I want cool kid 90s teen Tonks.
Trying way
It's the
too
only
hard,
thing I've
Tonks.
ever wanted.
Oh man, she'd pull it off.
So they have to jump off the train. So they jump off the train and she fixes Harry's nose with Episky, which is a spell that's never existed before. She then casts a Patronus into the sky and Harry's like, what? Was that a Patronus? And she's like, yeah, it's a signal to let you know that you're okay. Otherwise people would be concerned. And then Harry asks her, how did you know that I was going to be on the train? How the hell would you have known that? And Tonks says that she knew to look because she hadn't seen Harry leave the train and she knew that he had that invisibility cloak. So she was, you know, poking around in all of the cars to see where he was.
This is a good fucking horror.
Yeah.
So thorough.
Really
so
good.
like on top of it.
She is good at her job. Speaking of her being an Auror, she mentions that she has now been stationed at Hogsmeade, which feels like that's the best place to get stationed. Like that'd be like being a cop and they're like, oh yeah, you got to look over Universal Studios and Disney World is your precinct. Be like, oh, sick. Like, I'm just going to go make sure no one's on Space Mountain.
Right.
If that's like, got to make sure there's no bad guys on the ride, you know?
Right.
So Harry notices that she just seems generally much more serious than normal. Tonks before was this lighthearted, pink-haired, changing her appearance all the time, you know, joking around type person. And now she's just like really somber and grounded. And Harry can't help but realize that this has to be because of the Department of Mysteries situation, which sucks. I feel so bad for Tonks.
She's also like,
Ugh.
oh, I guess I'll send the Patronus. Expecto Patronus.
Yeah.
And Harry's like, that is one dour looking Patronus, my friend.
Mhm.
Like, that is like real underwhelming.
Yeah, you're not having some real happiness. So they tried to go into the castle, but it's locked because it's been so long since everyone got off the train. They locked the gates. And Harry starts suggesting a bunch of magic things that they could do to get in. And Tonks has to keep shooting them down because Hogwarts has defense against people trying to sneak into the school, which is what they're trying to do. So not going to work. And the Harry's like, well, looks like we're just going to have to camp out here for the night and wait till morning, which is like, no, Harry, you're going to find a way. And they do find that way, and they see someone approaching them, and Harry's like, oh, thank gosh, I don't think I'd ever be happy to see Filch in my life, but I'll put up with him berating me the whole way. Plot twist, it's Snape. Blah, blah. So apparently Snape saw the Patronus, even though that Tonks did it in hopes that Hagrid would see it. But Snape mentions that Hagrid, like Harry, was late to the beginning of the ceremonies.
Everybody's fucking up left and right.
Yeah.
Right? But this is just like on brand for Hagrid, since he missed like a good chunk of the semester in the last book.
That's true.
So it's kind of just like his thing.
He has
at this
many,
point.
many side projects, does Hagrid.
Yeah.
He does. So Snape says, was that your new Patronus? It's weak looking. I preferred the old one, which makes me ask a few questions. First off, you can change a Patronus? And then second off, why would you change a Patronus? Yeah. And third, like, how would you change your Patronus? Because I didn't know that it was something you defined. I didn't know that it was something that changed. I feel like they mention in the books that like when you marry someone that you like sometimes the partners switch Patronuses or something. But I didn't know you could just like willingly change them. I hope they explain this later because I was very confused by this.
Quick powwow for a second, Sarah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that this has actually gone into like much detail, and I sort of want to just be like, my understanding of it is this. It's not like a huge plot twist at some point where they like go into a lot of detail about this, right?
I mean, there is a thing that you and I know that Mike does not at this moment.
I will lay out my guess. My guess is that she's like adapting Sirius's old Patronus in his honor, and she's just like not that good at it. But that's
and
the
it's
only
not
thing.
Like fully formed.
Yeah, that is my only guess. And they don't even say what animal it is. They just say it's four-legged.
Yeah. But my sort of understanding is that you don't change the Patronus, your Patronus changes.
Yes,
like,
it's not a conscious thing. And I think a way to think about it might be to think about it sort of in terms of the other changes that are happening to Tonks right now, like the fact that she can't metamorphosize.
Yeah.
There's this weird relationship that wizards have with magic where like when you are taking on deep emotions or doing something out of deep emotion, it sort of changes the magic that you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the death of Sirius just like unwillingly changed her Patronus. Like she didn't have a say in the matter; it just happened.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's a thing you can consciously do.
Yeah.
Which makes our friend Severus like even more of a dick
Such
bag.
a dick.
Yeah.
Because he's not kind of being like
he knows
that thing that you chose. I don't like it. It's kind of being like it's kind of just like this thing that you are.
Yeah.
You know,
these priorities that you have and these things that you're feeling, they're wrong.
They're wrong. Go back.
Yeah. That's so gross.
Bag.
Yeah.
Snape is the worst. He's so bad.
He's also coming out swinging.
I know that he like turns okay by the end of this one and like blah blah blah, but like he sucks so much and he should have been fired 12 times.
Yes.
I don't think you'll find any argument on
whether he should not be fired. No.
Yeah.
He should absolutely have been fired a long time ago.
Long ago.
Yeah. So speaking of doing stuff that ought to get him fired, he starts just docking points left and right for Harry for being late, something that was kind of out of his control. Takes 50 points away for being late, 20 points away for not having his robes on.
Out of uniform.
They go into the castle, and then Harry gets back with the squad. They freak out because he has blood all over his face, and they eventually they clean up his face, and he's like, "Does my nose look okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. Why wouldn't your nose look okay?" And he's like, "Oh, no, nothing. Nope, everything's fine." And then Hermione's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, we gotta go see Dumbledore's speech." So they mentioned to him that he missed the sorting ceremony, and he's like, "Oh, what did I miss?" And they're like, same old. The Sorting Hat sang about how we need to unite again, and then they also mention that Hagrid wasn't there. So again, we're learning that Hagrid has been late, but we don't know why. They also say, "Oh, Snape wasn't there either. Have you seen Snape?" And then Harry doesn't tell them the full thing. He just says, "Oh yeah, I bumped into him." Undersell of the century for Harry here. Because gotta look cool.
Amazing restraint for Harry, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a restraint or just him like trying to hide the embarrassment, but it's the same thing Harry pulled when.
He may just be like,
that's true.
Yeah, he could
I don't
just
have
be
the energy. I can't even.
I can't deal with this
I can't
right now.
even.
It's the same thing that Harry pulled when Dumbledore during the apology chapters in the 5th book was like, "I heard that you were upset that I haven't been paying much attention to you," and then Harry's like, "Yeah, I wondered," which is like, no, Harry, you were freaking out for 75% of the book about Dumbledore not looking you in the eye. Don't you dare say, "Yeah, I wondered," under your breath. So they go to see Dumbledore's speech, and he does this beginning welcoming thing. Everyone is freaked out by Dumbledore's weird burnt hand, but Dumbledore's like, oh, don't worry about it, no big deal. And his first announcement is that plot twist, Slughorn is the potions teacher, and Snape is the defense against the dark arts teacher, which I totally fell for. I for sure thought Slughorn was going to be the Dada prof, but nope.
The pattern is so
Snape.
strong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
set there. Yeah.
Like, wow.
I fell for this hook, line, and sinker
Oh,
the
yeah.
first time I read this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It is really well done by J.K. Rowling.
It's such an exciting move. You sort of think you're smart and it's like, oh, it's the 7th book where Snape is going to be. Like, they're going to wait and finally he'll get it. Nope.
Oh, yes.
No, they hit you with it right here. Crazy. And Harry has an amazing quote right after this where he goes, well, there's one good thing, Harry said savagely. He'll be gone by the end of the year. Accurate use of the word savage. So, Dumbledore finally addresses the elephant in the room, which is Voldemort. Basically, he says, look, we put up a bunch of defenses in addition to our normal counter curses and such at the school, but you guys got to keep your guard up. If you see anything weird, tell your teachers and get some rest. So everybody, let's just go to sleep, get some rest. As they're leaving, Ron kind of takes Harry aside and is like, yo, what happened to your nose? And Harry tells him. And then Ron doesn't laugh or give him any grief for Malfoy beating him up, which Harry takes as a sign of his true friendship, is that Ron didn't give him any shit.
Hashtag bros.
Yeah. True. So then Harry says something and says Voldemort by name, and then Hagrid butts in and goes, I wish you would stop using his full name. So we know Hagrid's back, which is cool. He asks Harry why he was late, and then Harry replies, why were you late? And then Hagrid says it's because he was having, quote, a good chat with Grop, which Ron and Harry significantly doubt.
Eyes all around.
Yeah. This is like classic, like, I see. Very good then.
So again, Hagrid starts to call Buckbeak. He goes, oh, and I was also tending to Buck Witherwings.
One day he'll get it.
Classic Hagrid.
Yeah, it's a great bit that I hope this happens throughout the entirety of the book, because it's a bit I will never grow weary of. It's just Hagrid being the least subtle person ever is so good, and I will always welcome it.
No, it only gets more endearing each time.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So Ron and Harry at this point then have the same sinking realization, is that the two of them, as well as Hermione, is not going to be taking the Care of Magical Creatures course for their next 2 years, which is sad because they're the three that care the most and try the most and like the class the most, but they just don't like the subject enough to do a newt in it, and they just have this sinking feeling in the pit of their stomach. And that's the end of chapter 8, ending on a fun little high note. Then we get into chapter 9, which, holy crap, is called The Half-Blood Prince.
Delivering
Title.
early.
Yo, we usually do not get... I'm trying to think of like all the title reveals. Goblet of Fire was like right away.
Goblet of Fire was early.
Yeah.
I guess Order of the Phoenix was also
Order of the
early.
Fingers was,
Order of the
yeah.
Phoenix was like chapter 5 was called Order of the Phoenix. So I guess we've had a couple, I guess technically like the past
Prisoner
3
of
books
Azkaban
we've learned the
and
title
Kingdom
right
Hearts
away.
were late.
Whereas
No, Prisoner of Azkaban was pretty
later,
you hear-
yeah.
Oh, that's
Well, the plot twist is that the prisoner of Azkaban is actually like a nice person.
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
this plot twist I'm guessing is too, because as we'll get over the course of this chapter, you're kind of led to believe that the Half-Blood Prince is going to be Voldemort, but in my brain and my prediction is that it's Snape, because there's really only 3 people it's going to be of the people that are half-blood that would be a prince. It's either got to be Harry, Snape, or Voldemort, and the book wouldn't be called Harry Potter and the Harry Potter, and it also wouldn't be Harry Potter and the bad guy. So I think it's got to be Snape. So we'll see.
I'm just gonna say, so far the book has put a lot of emphasis on the disappeared ice cream maker. And Harry has been upset.
right.
So,
Mentioned specifically.
Yes.
Keep
Yeah. He was a prince of a man.
It's
to
true.
Give those free ice
It's true.
creams.
There are 2 more candidates, one of which, Ice Cream Guy. Second, my favorite character, Ludo Bagman.
Oh yes.
Never
Can't rule out Ludo
Never
Bagman yet.
never count him out.
I was so convinced he was the bad guy in the fort. Oh my goodness. Someone on Twitter today called that the iconic moment of Potterless, which I think is really true. Like, it really is like the trademark quintessential element of me being wrong about stuff.
With that said, I do think that that's what Ludo Bagman is there to do, though. To
Sure,
like,
that's
sort
his
of,
function.
Oh, he's the
Yeah.
the whole thing. I mean, I've gotten into this so much. We don't need to talk about it. But like, he was such a subtle red herring, and Barty Crouch Sr. was the more obvious red herring.
Right.
That I was like,
Right.
oh, okay. Barty Crouch Sr. is the real red herring. Ludo Bagman is the actual bad guy. And Barty Crouch Jr. is dead.
Right.
So I didn't think it would be him because it was
No,
established
that's a
he's
Sherlock
dead.
Jones kind of move. You just don't have all of the information.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
it's
you know,
the dumbest plot twist.
I don't think that sort of like it's a quote unquote fair mystery.
No.
Oh,
because if
not
you
at
take
all.
Everything as read, you do not have the information available to solve the mystery.
Yeah, you would have to be like, okay, I know they said this one guy was dead, but what if his
Right.
mother used polyjuice potion, traded like, there's no way to predict it at all. So I feel less bad about not knowing, but I do laugh at myself for how seriously I felt for that red herring.
The commitment was admirable.
And that's what matters in the end, that you do it with enthusiasm. And
Yeah, it's like I do a lot of improv comedy, and the big thing they say is like, if you're gonna fail big.
That's right.
And oh
That's
boy,
right.
did I. So chapter 9, the Half-Blood Prince. So they tell Hermione about the train stuff. Ron is thinking that it has to be just Malfoy showing off for Pansy. He can't actually be a Death Eater. So this confirms that he's definitely
Right,
a Death
right,
Eater,
right.
because
As we
Ron is
previously
always wrong.
established,
Yes. Now a fact.
Because Ron is like, when Ron takes a heavy stance on something, he's wrong. But when he flippantly says, oh, what if it's this? Then he's right. So he is very much like, there's no way. So it's definitely Malfoy's a Death Eater. Hermione isn't so sure. Ron then changes the subject to being excited about being a 6th year because you have so much free time built into the schedule. And Hermione's like, that's not free time. It's time that you're supposed to study for your newts. And Ron's like, whatever, I'll do it later. Which, beautiful. Gotta love Ron. What is not to love? They're so perfect for each other. Ron and Hermione are a match made in heaven. While they're talking, they see a kid walk by with a fanged Frisbee, which is banned from the school. So Hermione uses her prefect abilities to take it away from him. And then Ron's like, oh, sweet, I've always wanted one of these. And then he starts playing with it, which I think is so funny.
Just like blatant corruption.
Yeah,
Oh, it's amazing.
total corruption. But I mean, objectively, the fanged Frisbee sounds pretty cool. Like, imagine a Frisbee that like snarls and stuff. That sounds hype. I would love it.
I'm like, that shit's so dangerous.
Oh, terrifying.
that would actually
Absolutely
make
terrifying.
like Ultimate Frisbee really interesting to watch, though.
Yeah, word.
It would make it ultimate.
Yes, it would finally live up to its name.
It would finally live up to its name.
I've played Ultimate Frisbee in college and stuff. I really like it. And it's one of those things where I understand people watching it like not looking as impressive. I'm trying to compare it to another sport. It's almost like watching golf, where when you watch a professional play golf, you're like, oh yeah, they hit the ball or whatever. But if you like actually try to play golf, like, oh my, everything is so hard in golf.
Yeah.
You're hitting a tiny ball 540 yards into a 3-inch cup and not hitting sand, trees, water, and animals. Like, it's tricky. But when you watch it on TV, it's like, So I can understand. But yeah, Ultimate Frisbee with a fanged Frisbee. Let's go. That sounds hype. They talk to Hermione about the Hagrid conversation, and then the three of them have an even more serious downer, is that no one from their year is going to take care of magical creatures as a newt, because those three were the only people that liked the class in general. Nobody else liked it, so no one is going to like it enough to take it as a newt. So I guess Hagrid's just not going to teach 6th years, which is kind of awkward, and they are scared for Hagrid, so it sucks because he's so
Just
good.
feeling guilty.
Yeah,
It's rough, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah, it's just not the most. I don't know what career path are you gonna take. It makes sense that they don't want to study it, but it just sucks for Hagrid because he's so good.
They're gonna have to tear off that band-aid sooner or later.
Yeah, eventually.
Like, you know.
And it just speaks to like they're having this quandary because he's their friend before
Yes.
he's their teacher.
Exactly.
Which, if he was their teacher, maybe they would take. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, they only care because he's their friend.
Yeah.
It really, at the end of the day, just seems like a subject issue more than anything. It's not like they disliked the lessons or anything about it. It's just the subject is not what they need to do the jobs they want to do.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Speaking of these classes and stuff, McGonagall is now helping all the Gryffindors pick classes. Hermione is basically auto-confirmed for every class she wants to take because she got O's in everything except for Defense Against the Dark Arts. Then we get on to Neville, who really wants to take Transfiguration, but he only got an acceptable on his owl. McGonagall says, why do you even want to take Transfiguration? You've never really shown any interest in it. Neville reveals that he only wants to take it because his grandma wants him to. And McGonagall goes, look, tell your gran that she needs to love the grandson that she has and not the one that she wants, which is a really great sentiment. McGonagall is perfect. I want to see spin-off stuff that is only about McGonagall.
Best.
Person
Oh.
ever.
Right? McGonagall spin-off book, please. Or McGonagall, second buddy cop movie, McGonagall and Ginny.
Yes.
Yes.
It'd be so good. They just sass everyone. She says, hey, what about charms? You have an E in charms. And Neville replies, Gran says that charms is a soft option. And then, McGonagall says, take charms, and I shall drop Augusta a line that just because she failed her charms OWL doesn't mean that the subject is worthless.
Be still,
Oh my
my
goodness.
heart.
I know. Best person or best person.
Right? Oh my God, she's so
Just
good.
empirically.
She's so good. I love it because she's the most caring, but also the most sassy. It's absolutely incredible. She then moves on to Harry. And she asks Harry, why don't you want to take potions? And he goes, oh, I needed an O in potions, like you said last year, and I only got an E, so I figured I couldn't take it. And she goes, no. And here's the technicality I discussed in last episode. No. That was when Snape was the teacher, but now Slughorn is the teacher, and he'll gladly accept students that took an E on their OWLs. And let's be honest, he would have taken Harry if he got a damn T in potions. He wants Harry on his little slug squad.
We'll let it slide.
Yeah.
I see the potential.
Yeah, so this is the big old technicality that I knew was going to happen.
Oh, it's here. But yes. Before we move on from this, one of my favorite things is McGonagall's kind of very subtle, but definitely there, sort of shows of affection for her students.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little moment when it's just a sentence, but she sort of tells them I was very happy with your
Right.
mark on
In
Transfiguration.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Just sort of
yeah,
kind of going
it was good.
I appreciated the work that you put in, and I appreciated sort of that you actually did well on that. Well done. Which I
Right.
think
And the
from
fact that
McGonagall
it
must
is-
feel like a Congressional Medal of
No,
Honor.
it's Miles, because this is as much as you ever get from her.
Yeah.
But a well done Potter.
She is really caring.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really good. She's amazing, and with each book that passes, we just learn more and more why she is, the vice headmaster or assistant headmistress or whatever
Deputy
her
headmistress,
title
yeah.
is. Yeah, and we understand why she is held in such high regard and why Dumbledore likes her so much and everything. She's just great. She's stern when she needs to be. She's hard when she needs to be. She is sassy when it calls for it. But then she has the times when she gives Harry cookies and stuff. She can be that nurturing mother figure when the situation calls for it. Like she just did to Neville, trying to coach him up to be confident in himself. And then also to Harry, just being like, hey, good job.
Yeah.
So she's so good. She's so good. We then learn a little bit about how the Quidditch team works. Good thing we're learning this in book 6. So apparently the standard for Quidditch is that the team is just wiped and you have to retry out every year, which is not usually how high school sports works.
This is also we've never seen Harry trying out for
We
that
have
secret
not.
position
Yeah.
year after
Right?
year after
Exactly.
year.
This is
So-
another gripe I have with Quidditch is that every book a new thing is added.
Is it his team to organize? I don't know if the Oliver Wood administration was a set thing, and then the Harry Potter Quidditch team can work differently. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing I have a big gripe with for Quidditch in the books is that she set up the sport poorly, and then in every book tries to add stuff to fix it. But you're right, Harry never had to retry out for the team, and they never mentioned it. So I don't know. I think it's just her trying to add a technicality just so that we can get the scene, which I'm sure will inevitably happen, where Ron tries out for the team and he's good at being a goalie now. So I don't know. I think it was weird and silly, but what we get is Harry having a conversation with Katie Bell, the only 7th year that's still on the team, the only person that was on that original team. He joined as a first year, and she says something about tryouts, and he goes, oh, you don't need to try out. And she goes, what if there's someone better than me? Captains can't be playing old faces or letting in their friends, ... like while Ron is in the room.
Hint, hint, hint.
Which, unfortunate, but valid.
Ron's just like, la-da-da, I'm gonna go play with my friend Frisbee. I don't want to be a part of this conversation.
I think the best thing for everyone concerned is for me to just be somewhere else.
Ron out.
So Hermione enters and says that she's got hella homework from her runes class, and then they go into Defense Against the Dark Arts, taught by Snape. Snape makes the place look really moody, dimly lit. There's posters everywhere of people in pain.
Best motivational posters
Yeah,
ever.
really.
And he delivers this monologue that clearly he's been practicing every year for 16 years, hoping to get this job.
He just says it tonight before he goes to bed.
Oh, yeah.
Next night.
He's like too into the dark arts. He goes on this big thing where like, oh, the dark arts are so powerful and they're beautiful and you have to be so concerned and diligent and blah, blah, blah. And it's pretty off-putting for the squad. So he finishes this monologue and Snape says that their first lesson is going to be about nonverbal spells, which is sweet and something I'm really interested in. He says that you have to be very powerful to do it. Quote, it is a question of concentration and mind power, which some stares at Harry lack. Which, Snape will not let this grudge die ever.
Oh, yeah. No, that grudge will
The
bloom
damage runs
forth
deep.
eternal.
Yeah.
So he has the students break off into pairs, trying to jinx/defend both non-verbally. And this seems like a really bad idea. I don't get why they're not doing... They should start with just doing non-verbal hexes against a dummy, kind of like how Harry had them do in the DA meetings, which makes me think, hot take, is Harry a better teacher than Snape? He arguably is a better professor than someone with 16 years experience.
I would say that it depends on what the parameters that you're judging are. And if you say some parameters, Harry is 100% a better teacher than Snape. And if you say other parameters,
Then
Snape
Snape.
is a better teacher than
Sure.
Harry.
Yeah.
And I think they have very different end goals.
Objectives.
And yes,
Yeah.
objectives. Thank you. That's the word.
Mhm.
But yeah, he doesn't even Moody demonstrated things before they start. Snape is just line up.
Yeah.
Get going. Get cracking.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it is funny that the very next line, Harry realizes, oh, I've taught half this class the shield charm in DA meetings, which is great. Harry's like, wait a second, I've already taught this class. Ron is struggling, and he's paired off with Harry. Snape butts in and goes, let me show you, and then hits Harry with a jinx really quickly, which takes Harry by such surprise that he just reflexively goes Protego and blocks it, which knocks Snape off his feet. Snape scolds him. He goes, did you not hear the part where I said nonverbal? And Harry goes, yes, I heard it.
And then...
Yup. He goes,
And then-
Harry says yes, and then Snape says, yes, sir, correcting him. And then Harry goes, no need to call me sir, professor. Like rat horns rain from the sky and descend upon the classroom.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Snape
Hashtag
immediately, yeah, exactly. Worth it is true because Snape immediately replies, detention. But so worth it. So worth it. Snape's like, I won't be taking lip from anyone, not even the chosen one. But so worth it. After the class, Ron is hyped. Ron's like, that was awesome, Harry. And ultimate bro. Hermione less enthused. Harry is definitely off-put by how much of a boner Snape has for the dark arts. And Hermione says, oh, it actually reminded me of the way that you talked about fighting Voldemort in the Dumbledore's army meetings. And Harry has this weird thing where this makes him upset, but then he's equally happy at the fact that Hermione is comparing his words about guts and instinct to the same level as stuff that she read in a textbook. So he's like kind of mad, but then also equally happy. So he's just like off put and then doesn't react.
Not
Yeah.
sure if upset.
Sort of cancels out, and he's just sort of in a sort of static mode of
Yeah.
I don't know what this emotion is that I'm feeling.
I'm gonna decide it's hunger. Yeah, let's go with hunger.
Yep, that's always a good emotion. So then Jack Sloper comes in, that guy who was a trash beater from the year before. Or is it the bludger? Is it the bludger, the ball, or the person? I always forget.
The bludger is the ball.
The bludger is the ball, the beater is the
person.
Okay. He's the trash beater from last year. And he's like, "Oh, Harry, I've got a letter for you. By the way, when are the tryouts going to be?" And Harry's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then Jack is like, "Oh, okay. I was hoping they would be this weekend." And Harry just leaves mid-sentence to read this parchment. Just doesn't give a crap about Jack Sloper.
Harry is definitely having like a wee bit of a superiority complex by this point in the series.
Certainly. He's got no time for people that are not good at Quidditch.
Yeah.
He unrolls the scroll and it's from Dumbledore, and it is asking Harry to have their first private lesson. And at the very end, it says, "P.S. I like acid pops," meaning that this is the password. And this is still the dumbest security system ever, is that he's got a rotating password of desserts / candies / treats, and there's no limit to how many times you can guess the password, because what book was it? It was either one of the books. Harry just starts spewing all of the candies until he lands on cockroach clusters. Like, there's no limit.
But like, even Harry's like mildly horrified. He's like, "That worked? Holy crap!"
But like, you can imagine that if someone finds this out, it doesn't matter that Dumbledore changes the password every however many days. You could just walk up and just take a deep breath and be like, "Cockroach clusters, lemon drops, acid pops," like just start listing every candy that you can get at Honeydukes, and you'll eventually get in.
Just like brute force it that way.
And then it finally lands on, like, which is still my favorite, the mints that floss your teeth. I think that's the most useful candy, because then you could just
I
you could just
want that so much,
like, I get that it's kind of a dumb answer, but like, it's definitely the best candy to have. It's like, "Oh, I'm on a date, let me pop this in. My breath's gonna smell good, and nothing's gonna be in between my teeth. Tight." And Ron asks, like, "Acid pops?" And then Harry's like, "Oh, that's his password." So like, now more people know about the password. Like, come on, Harry, get it together. Dumbledore clearly wanted this to be somewhat of a secret by writing, "P.S. I like acid pops," and not just writing, "By the way, say acid pops to my gargoyle." Harry's just got no subtlety.
Yeah. It gets even funnier, I think, if you just like imagine Harry being one of those people that has no volume control.
Right.
Like, just kind of like going up and down these like probably super echoey like castle hallways.
Yeah, for
High
sure.
Ceilings.
That's the password.
Malfoy ear perks up. We also learned that it is conveniently timed to be at the same exact time slot as Snape's detention, so Harry can't go to Snape's detention anymore. Womp womp. So then they go to potions class. The potions class is made up of 4 Slytherins, one of which is Malfoy, 4 Ravenclaws, the squad, and then Ernie Macmillan. And Ernie has slowly gotten better over the course of the books. He started off as like, snooty little Hufflepuff that like didn't believe Harry when it came to, I believe, the stuff in the second book. But now Ernie is a full-on bro. He goes up to Harry talking about the Defense Against the Dark Arts lesson. He goes, Snape teaching us shield trumps is kind of lame for us people that have already learned it, right? Which is like, so good.
And he's kind of like nice and civil to Ron and Hermione too.
Yeah.
Like, "How are you guys doing? How have you been?" It's nice to sort of get a little bit of like inner house civility as the book goes forward.
Only from a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, exactly. I like the sentiment of the Dumbledore's army squad still being close friends, even though they're not meeting. Like, I like them kind of having their own clique, because that's an amazing group of people.
Yeah.
So Slughorn then enters and shows them some advanced potions that they will be able to make by the end of the class. Veritaserum, Polyjuice Potion, and Amortentia, or Amortentia, which is a love potion that gives you not true love, but obsessive love. He asks Hermione, because she correctly gets all of these right, of course, when he asks what they are. He asks her if she's related to some famous wizard that has a hyphenated name where one of them is Granger, and she says, "No, I'm Muggle-born." And at that point, he realizes, oh ho, this is the person that you told me about, right, Harry? The person that's our year and is the best in the school? And then he gives Hermione 20 points to Gryffindor for getting all these questions right. Hermione is flattered, absolutely flattered that Harry called her the best in the year. And Ron, in classic Ron getting jealous of anyone doing anything to Hermione for him, which is so good, goes, oh, what? What's a big deal? It's just a true statement. I would have said the same thing if I was asked. You are the best in the class. I don't get what the big deal is. Harry's just
I say
like
that
telling
all the
truth.
time.
Right.
Except I've never said that before.
Right.
Oh, but it's so, I love it. I love when Ron does this. He did this a bunch of times with Victor Crumb, and it's so good. I'm so excited for when Ron and Hermione finally get together because it's just so perfect.
Ron is just like that classic, like, I could do that if I wanted to.
Yep.
I just don't want to guy.
Yeah.
Yes. 1,000%.
No, he's just unaware until there's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And then
He's on it.
Yeah, he totally is. There's one more potion on Slughorn's desk that he didn't mention, and Ernie points it out. And narrator Harry is super convinced that Slughorn did this on purpose for dramatic effect. He's like, there's no way that he didn't mean for this to happen. And we learn that it is Felix Felicis, which is liquid luck. It's literally a potion that just makes you luckier over a certain period of time. So Terry Boot asks why people don't take it all the time. Slughorn says that it will make you reckless. And what Slughorn has done is has set up a contest where they are going to use their textbooks, which describes how to make it, and whoever makes it the best will get this tiny bottle of it that will give the drinker 12 hours of good luck.
But they're making another potion.
They're not.
Right.
You're kidding. Yeah, you're right. They're making
Living Death.
draft of living death,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
they don't explain what that does, and it's got a really intense name. Do you guys know what
I
draft
like-
of living death does?
I like to think that it's the potion that Juliet takes in Romeo and Juliet, where she's just like out.
Oh, yeah.
That could. Yeah.
I don't actually know what it does, but
That could be it. I'm afraid to Google it in case it's used later in the series, and then it'll like tell me a spoiler. But that's what they have to make. And Harry, since he didn't get a book, or him and Ron both didn't get books because they thought that they didn't qualify for the Newt level of potions, they have to use old books. And at first, Harry hates his book because the person that had before wrote a bunch of notes on the margins, and like the book's really old and it's like creased out and it's like hard to read some of the stuff because it's been worn through so much.
Let's appreciate all the like chess piece movements that
Yes.
Rowling did just to get him this book. Like
Yep.
sort of like all the shoe leather of like, oh, I can't take the class. Oh, wait, I can take the class, but I didn't get books. Oh, it's okay. You can have this old book. All just to get us here.
Mm-hmm. It is very well crafted. It's really good. I don't know if she like knew it back in the 5th book, was like, your grades aren't good enough for this class. I don't know if she knew it then or if she put it together in between 5 and 6, but no matter what it is, super crafty, really well done stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, he hates this book until he starts to see what some of these notes say. The first one mentions that instead of cutting up a shriveled bean, you should bash it with the end of your silver knife. You'll get more juice out of it. So while Harry's doing this, he overhears Malfoy trying to get Slughorn to love him by referring to his grandpa like, oh, you knew my grandpa, right, Slughorn? And Slughorn's like not impressed at all, which Harry takes delight in. And then he's doing this, and then there is another note saying that the book tells you to spin it clockwise, but the note says, no, it's better if you do it counterclockwise, which, how the hell does that make a difference? I get that it's magic. I know that we're talking about magic
and
here.
it's just obnoxiously precise too, because I think it's like you turn it 7 spins clockwise and then 1 spin counter or something. It's like
It's something really
how much
specific
time
and dumb.
did you have on your hands to figure that out?
Right.
1.
Mhm.
2, like how does like sort of the movement or the motion
Every
affect?
7th counterclockwise stir,
Yeah.
that's what it is, yes.
Oh, it's so precise.
It's
Right,
so
and I guess it's
silly.
the idea of
It's
like,
so silly.
whoever had this book just understood the principles of alchemy or whatever
Right.
to that degree.
Sure. Harry does this and Hermione starts to notice this. She's like, how are you doing this? And Harry's like, I don't know. Because Harry starts to become pink, which is the correct color. Hermione's is this shade of purple, which is close, but not exactly right. So they get to the grading portion. Ron's straight up looks like tar, so not going to win. Ernie's is navy blue, not going to win. Hermione's is close. It gets, quote, a nod of approval from Slughorn, but Harry's is spot on. Slughorn has an ear-to-ear grin, says that he's the winner, and says, quote, it's like Harry has the same abilities for potion as his mother, and this is my thought, where I think, oh my god, it's her book. I am not correct, or at least I don't think I am. Ron is very impressed. Hermione's kind of grumpy, which definitely is mostly with the fact that she followed it exactly by the book and still lost. Like, it's definitely a little twinge of jealousy mixed in there. And while they're having this discussion, Ginny overhears Harry mentioning that he was listening to things written in the book. And Ginny's like,
You're
yo,
not listening to
you
things
probably
written in
shouldn't
old
listen
books,
to stuff.
are you?
It's so good. And then Harry's like, oh, come on. It's not Riddle's diary or anything. Which, again, witty banter between them. Loving it. Hermione then snags the book away from Harry and then hits it with a spell that is supposed to check for magic. And then nothing happens. And Harry's like, ha, I told you. Meh. Like, stop hating. And then they leave. And Harry grabs the book and looks at the back. And the back of the book says, this book is the property of the Half-Blood Prince. And I am convinced here that it's got to be Snape's because they are kind of setting it up like it's going to be Voldemort's. So my thought, it's Snape's book. And that is the end of chapter 9 and also this episode of Potterless. So what do you guys think about these 3 chapters?
Oh, I think that we're off to a swimming start with the semester. We've already got some Malfoy intrigue. We've already got some Snape intrigue. We've got Hermione pissed off that, like, in her eyes, Harry's cheating in this contest.
And can we just say that put upon Hermione, whenever Hermione is annoyed or, like, a sort of minorly outraged, it's the funniest thing in the world.
It is.
Oh, it's so
the
good.
The worst
so
brings out the best in her.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah. No, these are good. You're right. You mentioned this for the previous episode as well, but like usually these chapters are the ones I hate the most. Mm-hmm. Like I really usually dislike the pre-Hogwarts chapters and then the very beginning at Hogwarts chapters just because it got so repetitive. It was like we get on the train, Malfoy makes fun of them. They get to the feast, they eat food, they say hi to Hagrid, everything's fine and dandy. Dumbledore makes a speech, it's slightly ominous. Then they start classes suck.
Right.
And it got very formulaic. But now this whole book is kind of like twisted the beginning to the book on its head. And I really like it because we are 9 chapters in, and you're right, there's so many things that we got to worry about. Like, what the hell's Malfoy doing? Who the hell's the Half-Blood Prince? Yeah. What's Slughorn's deal? What's going on with Dumbledore's hand that he won't tell us about? Why is Tonks so sad? We're like not even a fifth of the way through the book, and there's so many things that have happened.
And I'll say this
nuts.
much.
It's
I think
great.
that this is a more engaging potions class than anything that we ever had
Absolutely.
in 5 years of Snape.
So true. Because Snape was just objectively a really bad professor because he would just like put stuff on the board and then make fun of people.
Right.
And just yell at Harry and stuff. Where like Slughorn seems like at least he's spicing things up. There was a contest. And he made these potions that people have no idea how to make. It seems interesting. So you're right. It's definitely the best potions class we've ever had. And it's the first one. So it's exciting. Yeah. But man, thank you guys so much for joining.
Anytime.
I know you talked about Wolf 359 last time. What do you like? What's the plan now that the show wrapped? Like, what are you guys up to? Is there going to be spin-offy stuff? Or are you working on new podcasts?
We're
like, what's the
catching
deal?
up on sleep.
Yes.
And,
Nice. Okay. Valid.
No, I think that the answer to that right now is that we are pursuing a couple of different projects, and some of them are podcasts.
Cool.
And some of them are definitely not podcasts.
Fun.
Right now, it's a lot of things that are kind of in development, and kind of we're trying to get them off the ground, and the ground is holding on tight for most of them.
Bit sticky.
But we're trying to see if we can achieve liftoff, and as soon as we got something in the air, we'll yell it from the rooftops.
Awesome.
But for now, we're back in the lab. We're throwing chemicals together and seeing what...
Turning potions counterclockwise 7
Exactly,
times.
yeah. We are right now kind of in the trial and error part where we're like trying different combinations of clockwise and counterclockwise stirring. As soon as something turns bright pink, we'll let the world know.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, until then, everyone listening, if you haven't listened to Wolf 359, get at it because it is amazing and very well written. And these two wrote and directed some phenomenal stuff. So thank you guys again so much for joining. And listeners, thank you for listening. No problem. Happy to have you guys. Glad we could make this happen. And until next time, as they say at the beginning of every class in Hogwarts, Wizard on.
Nice.
Amazing.
Let's close the file without saving, Sarah. That's what we should do, right?
Are you all caught up on Potterless and you want to hear my voice in more ways? Well, you can go to our collaborations tab on potterlesspodcast.com and see other podcasts that I've guest starred on. Our website also has all sorts of information about the podcast, such as featured articles and an about page and lists of all the charities that we've supported. So again, potterlesspodcast.com. Potterless is created by Mike Schubert. It is hosted by Mike Schubert. It is edited by Mike Schubert. It is produced by Mike Schubert, as well as Leanne Davis, Vicky Garcia, Aaron Johnson, Erica and Calvin Bauer, Michael Vandersleigh, Sadie Bear, Jesse Horgan, Natalie Klobuchar, Deborah Wilkins, Klaus Serlopu, Alex Stark, Rebecca Adamek, Frank Chiodo, Marchismo, Tori Larsick, Samantha Rose, Juan Sanfelio, Sheila Vidianathan, Jenna Dowsett, Kieran Webb, Luis Nusak, Akanksha Saxena, Rebecca Vinsnez, Abid Ahmed, Caitlin Jordan Pontolo, Lee Xiaoru, Ayana Chalewa, Benjamin Bridges, Rosemary Dodge, Jill Boulay, Maria Lisa Sikeen, Maria Paulson, Jennifer Inglis, Ariel Bird, Christina Emerson, Romina Rivadeneira, Serenity Kumail Doc, Anthony Bonarigo, Diego Matienzo, Andrew Clark, Celeste Smith, and Russell Dunk. Web design by Kelly Beckman, and the music is by Bettina Campamanes. Thank you guys so much for listening. Potterless can be found on any of your preferred podcasting apps, including Spotify. Just search for Potterless. You can find us at twitter.com/PotterlessPod, facebook.com/Potterless, or instagram.com/PotterlessPodcast. And until next time, as they say in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, wizard on!